Donald Trump has announced to the world that at least he believes he's going to be arrested. Arrested tomorrow, Tuesday, March 21st. Yes, March 21st. He believes he's going to be arrested. This is, of course, in relation to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, their investigation into Trump's Stormy Daniels hush money payment, and it could all be going down tomorrow. Whoa. Here on True Social, he wrote in all caps. And by the way, after we look at this initial message, we're going to walk through his entire meltdown. Wow. Quite the breakdown he's having. But first, so for our podcast listeners, picture all caps and everyone just imagine the sweaty, angry, frantic man writing this True Social post. Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros, indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. That was all one sentence. Tuesday of next week, period. One sentence. Whew. Protests take our nation back. Now, who knows why he's talking about himself in the third person like that? And also, something I've said before, the only way I can stay sane doing this is to not allow myself to always feel in my body what I think in my head. Meaning, I can't feel angry about all the things that I am intellectually angry about, if that makes sense. And so you'll notice my energy often on many stories is kind of lighthearted, but don't mistake that for me not understanding the severity, because here him saying take our country back, protest, while peaceful protests are awesome, of course we support people's right to do that, he understands the context of saying the country is being taken from his followers, saying take it back and protest, while in literal terms could be fine. Protest, hooray. What was the last time he was using similar language? January 6th. And so there could be some reading between the lines that's being done, and that is terrifying. And it's important for us to recognize that. Hopefully everything stays peaceful here. And by the way, Trump's team came out and said in some form or another that this is not Trump based on inside information sharing this. This is just reporting that he's seeing and he's expecting to be arrested, but this isn't based on inside information. Okay. Continuing in all caps, it's time. We are a nation in steep decline, being led into World War III by a crooked politician who doesn't even know he's alive. Biden doesn't know he's alive, I guess, but who is surrounded by evil and sinister people who, based on their actions on defunding the police, destroying our military, open borders, no voter ID, inflation, raising taxes, and much more, can only hate our now failing USA. We just can't allow this anymore. They're killing our nation as we sit back and watch. We must save America. Protest, 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 Trump says. Very frantic. He is panicking. Obviously just lies out the wazoo, as I'm sure you're aware. Then next post, remember the same animals and thugs. Now, that type of language, animals, that's intentional and dangerous, because when you're saying take your country back, protest, again, protesting is fine, but not everyone's going to take it to mean peaceful. And then calling those that you would be taking the country back from animals, that is so dangerous. Remember, the same animals and thugs that would do this to perhaps 200 million people. 200 million people? Who's he talking about? But actually, all Americans are the communists, Marxists, rhinos, and losers that are purposefully destroying our country. Can someone find me one singular person in a position of power who is a communist Marxist? Communist/Marxist. Now, rhinos and losers, right? Both of those are, interpretive, but Communist and Marxist would be someone who subscribes to a particular ideology. And the only communists and Marxists that I'm aware of are online individuals who don't hold any positions of power. So it's a very strange obsession of the right wing. I don't even know if y'all want me to continue, but come on, got to do it. Can you imagine the great New York City Police Department, correctly referred to as New York City's finest, who for the first and only time in history endorsed the president, me, and honor me as Man of the Year, having to defend and protect the defunders and cop haters of the radical left. They always go after the left and actually both those things. And Biden for being pro defund the police and cop haters. Number one, a relatively small portion of anyone you can find on the left even was on board with defund the police. Thus, that's why it's not a prominent action being taken. And Biden repeats time and time again, he wants to fund the police, not defund the police. Then the cop haters thing, we're going to talk about this more later in today's show, but it is those on the left who are trying to push for more common sense gun control laws that would make the lives of police officers safer. When weapons of war are on the streets, cops aren't as safe as they could be. So it's all just branding and catchphrases, not actual policy positions. But continuing forward, defunders and cop haters of the radical left that want to put their greatest champion and friend in prison for a crime that doesn't exist. All the while, the Soros-backed DA allows murderers and other violent criminals to freely roam the sidewalks of New York, ? Oh my goodness. Prepare yourself. You will hear the name George Soros quite a few times over the course of the next weeks and months. It is the district attorney of Manhattan who's breaking the law by using the fake and fully discredited testimony, even by the SDNY, of a convicted liar, felon, and jailbird Michael Cohen to incredibly persecute, prosecute, and indict a former president and now leading, by far, presidential candidate for a crime that doesn't exist. Alvin Bragg should be held accountable for the crime of interference in a presidential election. We're also going to talk about later in today's show Trump being also in a really bad place when it comes to the Georgia investigation into his attempts to overturn the 2020 election results in the state of Georgia, and what was being investigated and is currently being considered to bring charges in regard to was Trump's interference in a presidential election. So then, of course, he's turning around and saying it's Alvin Bragg who's interfering in a presidential election. And we'll end it there. I just can't, oh my goodness, can't do any more of that. Quickly, to kind of give you a sense of what's going on here, a couple responses. First, from Alvin Bragg himself, here from Politico. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg offered a private retort to Donald Trump's message Saturday, urging supporters to protest his expected indictment, telling office employees in an email that we do not tolerate attempts to intimidate our office or threaten the rule of law in New York, according to a copy obtained by Politico. So saying Trump calling for protests, and if there are protests, that's not going to intimidate. And likely there will be threats, of course. And that's not going to intimidate the Manhattan District Attorney's office. And finally, Kevin McCarthy getting asked about the calls for protests from Trump.
I don't think people should protest this, no. And I think President Trump, if you talk to him, he doesn't believe that either. I mean, I think the thing that you may misinterpret when President Trump talks, when someone says that they can protest, he would probably be referring to my tweet. Educate people about what's going on. He's not talking in a harmful way, and nobody should. Nobody should harm one another in this.
Okay, so that he should be saying people should stay peaceful, which he is. So that's good. But really, you're gonna go, yeah, he said protest. No, I don't think he means anything other than educate people. Educate is really what he's saying. Okay, and Kevin McCarthy, of course, is playing into the narrative that this is politically motivated. He's saying the House majority is going to look into the weaponization going on and it's all horrible and terrible, when in reality, we've heard for a very long time from Republicans that we need to have which we agree, law and order. That's what's happening. Trump possibly committed a crime. Now law and order is playing out. They should be on board, but instead, no, it's horrible political persecution before they've seen any of the specifics of the case. They are quite confident that that's what's going on. So, wild moment, ladies and gentlemen. Trump could be arrested tomorrow. It won't necessarily happen. He could be misinterpreting messages, kind of what he's seeing. Again, they're saying this isn't based on private information he's received, just his observation of the news. But truly a stunning time we are in. Make sure, even if you think you are, that you are definitely subscribed to the YouTube channel. It is so important. Thank you.